everybody, Mike Beard here with your DRF race of the day for Wednesday, November 15th. We're going to Horseshoe Indianapolis for the race of the day. It's going to be the fourth race on that card, 6 furlongs on the dirt. It's a sprint for older filly and mare Indiana breds. This purse is $45,000. Here is your field of 9 horses entered for this race. I thought, overall a pretty well-matched field, actually. The morning line favorite, and a pretty clear-cut one at that, is drawn to the far outside post. The number 9, Classic Max, is your 9-5 morning line favorite. This horse is looking for 3 wins in a row, sprinting over this track. Overall, an 8-time winner, has a lot of speed from the outside post here, and is probably going to make the lead. That's probably part of the reason why she's such a heavy favorite on the morning line here. We'll take a look at the time form U.S. pace projector, and they just have her sort of out there at the pace call on a clear early lead. It'd be a pretty big advantage for her if she can get there. I thought there were, a couple of other horses in this race who could certainly, try to get forward in here and keep this pace within range, but certainly Classic Max does feel like the horse who is going to be whacking out this pace here. She's got plenty of races that are going to make her, pretty tough to beat in here if she shows up with one of her good ones. She also might be moving up a little bit in class for this, looking for the 3rd win in a row here. This might be a tougher field than either of the last 2 fields that she just defeated, but she's obviously pretty good. She's going to take some beating here, especially if she can shake loose on this early lead. Let's start taking a look, though, at some of the horses she's going to have to contend with early in this race. The number 1 is going to be a pretty big price here, a 3-year-old taking on some older horses, breaking from the rail. Do you want to dance? We'll see. This horse is pretty clearly going to have to improve in this race. Started out earlier in her career with, a bunch of starts in the claiming ranks, and ran okay in those races, won 2 of her first 4. She's been up in class for her last 3, but did get another victory last time in an entry-level allowance race when they cut her back in distance from a mile to 5.5, and she came running from off the pace and just got up at the end at a bit of a price. It was a good performance for her. It was a pretty big forward move as far as buyer speed figures go. It still leaves her a little bit light against a field like this one, so she's going to have to take another step forward here. Maybe she'll have some pace to run into here, but she's going to need somebody to go after the favorite in order to set this race up for her. The number 2 is Doro Wish. Just a filly in this field who I think has a real chance to be a major contender. Her most recent start, she was also cutting back in distance for that performance. And she was no real match for Classic Max in that race. Classic Max wired that field. This horse sort of settled off the pace. I thought overall she got a pretty clean trip in there down towards the inside. She ran on through the stretch. She never really threatened Classic Max at the end of that race, but she was, along for 3rd, just missed 2nd in that race. I thought she ran fine. The cutback in distance clearly works for her. She doesn't really want to go very far, and it's at least worth pointing out, while she couldn't threaten Classic Max last time, you only have to go back to May of this year on this track, going this distance. She defeated Classic Max that day. So we know that she has it in her to do it. I think she's got the right running style for this race. She could really fall into a pretty decent trip here, as long as that morning line favorite doesn't get totally loose on the lead. This horse is 4-1 on the morning line, and I didn't think she was that hard to make a case for. The number 3 is Mo Wins. Overall, pretty consistent. She doesn't have a lot of early speed. She's going to try to go turf to dirt here and cut back in distance off of a little bit of a layoff. I think it's pretty difficult to say what her best distance is, but maybe she's just going to wind up being a better sprinter. She's faced a few of these horses in the past and wasn't, really effective in those races. I think you kind of have an idea now after 22 starts, what she really is. She just looks like one of those horses in here who is going to be a price if you like her, and she's probably going to need to catch a break or 2 if she's going to be really competitive in here. The number 4 is Latigo. She's your second choice on the morning line at 3-1. And I feel like she's probably the main danger to your favorite in this race. Latigo just brings really good form into this race. 6 for 12 in her career on the main track. She's a better sprinter than she is going longer as well. The most recent start, they tried to stretch her out in a little bit of a stakes race there, and it's pretty ugly running line, but man, did she get kind of a crazy ride in that race. I mean, an early move in that race into a really strong pace, totally fell apart there, but that race totally fell apart and went to closers. Just felt like she got the wrong ride last time off a little bit of a laugh. I don't think you're supposed to hold that race against her. Her prior form, sprinting on the dirt, is actually really good. 2 and 3 starts back, just missing in those two races to a horse named Nobody Listens. Nobody Listens, a 14-time winner. She's 10 for 18 on the dirt in her career, or was 10 for 18 on dirt in her career. A 100 by her top. Her most recent performance has been on turf, and she was really good in those races. A Grade 3 winner, sprint on the grass. That's a really good horse, and Latigo made it really close with her in both of those races. She's got great tactical speed. She's got the figures to suggest that she's not going to be that far off the favorite in this race if she shows up with her good race, and she even has more room to improve too. Cutting back out of kind of a wild trip in her most recent start to a better distance. She's a super dangerous horse in this race, and I think she's a major player. Chip Off the Old Block is the 5. She's an 11-time winner. She's got several races on the go back that would give her a real chance. You only have to go back to last April at Oaklawn, where she's third in a Grade 3 race with a 95 Beyer speed figure. Her recent form isn't that great, and so to me, that's the sort of the main issue with this horse. Her last 3 starts just haven't really been her best, particularly the last 2. They're going to ship her back in here and see what she can do over a track that she really handles. She's an 8-time winner here at Horseshoe Indianapolis, so that's a good thing for her. She's one of those horses too, I think, can get any kind of a trip in her race. She doesn't need to be involved with the pace early to be effective, but she's not going to be that far away early, assuming she gets out of the gate. I don't love her in this race, but I don't think she's totally impossible either, and she's a really good price on the morning line. The 6 is Pickle Feet. Another horse who's just going to have to improve in this race, but another one who's very lightly raced as a 4-year-old. I don't know. I kind of look at this horse's overall form, and I feel like he might have it in him to be effective in a race like this. Yeah, he's going to have to improve, but I like his versatility. He's won on the lead. He's won without the lead. I think this is a horse who could really take a step forward at some point. His most recent start, he was probably going to win there. He had to, be put up by the stewards at 1-5, but it seemed like a legit DQ there, and he was probably going to win that race anyway. So, we'll see what happens. Obviously, he has to run better in here. He's never run a race that's fast enough to beat horses like this. But I feel like he might have it in him. If I was going to use, one of the real longer prices in this race, it would probably be the 6 Pickle Feet. We'll see if he can take the step forward that he needs to take in this race. The 7 is Bonnie Bill, another horse who's got plenty of races behind him, and occasionally will pop up with a race that would give him some kind of a chance to get a piece in here. I thought he was hard to sort of make as a win candidate in this race. He's a horse who doesn't have a ton of speed. I expected him to be somewhere off the pace in this race and trying to pick up pieces at the end. His last 2 starts, they put blinkers on. I thought it only led to mild improvement for this horse. And he's just one of those horses who got sort of good towards the end of last year. His final 2 starts of 2022 were probably the best races he's ever run. He went back-to-back and won those 2 races. And he's just come back this year and hasn't really been able to build on it. 0 for 8 so far in 2023, and he hasn't hit the board in any of those races. CJ Storm is the number 8. Another horse whose races 2 and 3 starts back, probably the 2 best races of his life. So he certainly headed the right way. They tried to stretch him out last time over a wet track. He showed speed. He got really tired. That obviously didn't work out in a stakes race. So they sort of come back to reality here and cut him back to sprint. Going to have to sort of continue that forward development, though, that he was on 2 and 3 starts back. Even those 2 races, they don't give him a real chance in here, but maybe he'll be able to build on those. The number 9 is Classic Max, and he's your morning line favorite. He's probably the horse to beat in this race, breaking from the outside with speed. Again, he's won 2 races in a row, and he's just a horse who gets really, really tough to run down when he's able to make a clear early lead, and maybe that'll happen in here. He's got plenty of races that make him really tough. That 93 Beyer top, is certainly an effort that's going to make him really tough in here. I don't know that his last 2 races, though, do a ton for me. He was clearly best at the end of those races, but they were, hardly decisive wins. The last one against Doro Wish, I thought Doro Wish ran fine in that race, trying something a little different in there, and that was going 5.5. Now they're going 6 again. I'll call him the horse to beat in here as your morning line favorite. I guess I don't have any real argument with him. I also just didn't think he was, some kind of super standout in here, and it was a race that he had to win. And so I was sort of willing to maybe take a little bit of a shot against him before we get to the selections, though, and see if we do wind up picking against him. Just please subscribe to the YouTube channel for all the latest DRF videos, and we can put those picks up there right now and just see how this looks. Classic Max, yeah, the horse to beat on the outside. I'll take a couple of shots against him in here. I put the number 4 Latigo on top, coming out of that crazy trip last time. I like this horse cutting back. I think he can fall in to the right early position in this race and not be too far away. I even put Doro's Wish in there second. He's already got a win over Classic Max this year. He ran fine against that horse last time when cutting back into. So I went 4, 4, and 2 to try to beat the 9 in your Wednesday race of the day. It's the 4th at Horseshoe Indianapolis, and the approximate Post time is 4:03 Eastern time. Good luck.